Well, dear Mr. President, dear Alexandar Vucic, President of the Republic of Serbia, please, a warm applause again. Milorad Dodik, President of the Republika Srpska. Prince Philip of Serbia is among us today. Former Federal Councillor Dr. Christoph Blocher is here.
Very pleased to see you. Thank you for being here.
And of course, our former National Councillor and great Swiss entrepreneur Peter Spuler. A warm welcome here in Zurich. Then I want to say hello and thank you to the ambassador of Serbia in Bern, to Goran Bradic. Without him, we would not be here. His heroic efforts to make it possible. Thank you very much. And we will never forget his impeccable right-hand man, Bojan Stojanovic. You are the Novak Djokovic of Serbian diplomacy. Thank you very much for being here. Then Mihailo Šauric, the Consul General of Serbia. A warm welcome. Boro Bronza, Ambassador of Bosnia-Herzegovina. And numerous other ambassadors from a lot of countries here in Switzerland. Thank you very much for coming. A great welcome to you all. Ladies and gentlemen, dear guests, welcome to Zurich, welcome to the Dolder Grand, welcome to the second Zurich speech 1 year after Prime Minister Viktor Orban was here and opened the discussion. We are very proud, we are very happy that we have our high guest, the President of Serbia, here in the time of Advent, but in a very dark time. And this is why we have started our little candle here, that there is a silver lining, that there is a beam of light, even in times of darkness. Advent time, Adventszeit, means that we tune our souls into the receiving mode. We start to listen more than we talk. We start to listen to other voices. And this is the goal of this event here, organized by Weltwoche, which is extremely important to us. It's an event which wants to further international understanding, open international dialogue on the basis of Swiss neutrality. Our guest of today, Serbia's President Alexandar Vucic, impresses me a lot, especially since we have met in summer, when I had the privilege to interview him, because he's a man who speaks with a soft voice in a time when everybody is screaming. We have a lot of politicians today who are clenching their fists. But to my perception, President Vucic is a statesman who is extending his hand to greet other people and not to make a fist. To me, President Vucic, you are a man of peace. And Serbia is an extremely interesting country with a rich history at the breaking point of cultures in the middle of Europe, between the West, the so-called West, and the East, always having to survive, to cope with wars, with a lot of difficult situation. Serbia is a Christian nation, and the Serbs have defended European Christianity for centuries against enemies and attackers from where they came. From the experience of a lot of wars, one of them is not far away. The Serbs have learned, and I think this is especially true for you, Mr. President, to fight for peace, to work for peace, to build bridges and not to take on trenches. Today, a lot of people tell us also Switzerland should decide between the West and the East, between the good guys and the bad guys. There is just a strong either or. And I would say, President Vucic, you are a politician who is trying to live another alternative. It's not either or, it's as well as. It's not East against West. Probably it's East and West together, because we have just one single planet, and I think we all are doomed to cooperate and make the best of it. You're keeping this utopia of understanding high, even in times of war, and this is why you have my utmost admiration. Sometimes you seem to me like an artist on a tightrope up in the sky, not trying to fall down into the abyss. And a lot of people are dragging on you. Everybody's trying to push you on one side and the other, but somehow you manage to keep the balance. And we wish you to keep this balance for a very long time. And the balance is, of course, also the modus vivendi of Switzerland. It is a great honor to welcome you here in Zurich, to discuss with you, to listen to your Zurich speech, and after the speech we'll have a conversation. And now, may I ask you, dear Mr. President, to come to the podium. The floor is yours, and our souls are tuned to the receiving mode. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Dear Roger, Mr. Chancellor, President Dodik, Your Excellencies, dear friends, I'm honored and privileged to be here and to have an opportunity to say something before you, and it's very difficult speaking and saying anything after Roger, because he's so energetic, he's so well focused that you cannot overcome it. And I'm not the type of guy that is by his nature optimistic, and but I'll be 100% sincere with you and will say what I think. And I'll be very ready to listening to you later on and to learn many things from you. We live today in a world where people don't listen to each other. When you have propaganda which always has to appear as a truth, either you follow it, either you immediately become an adversary or an opponent of those that are empowered always to be right and truthful. Changes that are happening are at the fastest pace in exactly the last 300 years. Full Western dominance based on two postulates is almost coming to an end. One which is only half true and the other which is absolutely true. The first half-true one, that the democracy as a form of a political regime established in the West was the lighthouse that attracted all others, both big and small, on their side. The other one is that China and Russia had missed the first industrial revolution and maintained for a long time in force the feudal order that could not bring economic prosperity. Quite the contrary, it led to huge dynastic conflicts and lagging behind of those nations. The exception that confirmed the rule is the big victory and the biggest contribution of the Russian army in the Second World War. But the Soviet Union and Russia, apart from the victory against Nazism, could offer to the rest of the world neither higher living standards nor free social thought. However, in the past 40 years, things have been dramatically changing. In the first 25 out of those 40 years, all indicators and numbers changed that progression imposed by the arithmetic display of growth, and in the past 15 years, the fastest in the history of mankind, just the way it suited geometric progression. What is that happened and that inevitably encouraged changes in the world to such extent that in 2024 the world is completely unrecognizable comparing to the world from 2000? Democracy. Is there more democracy and freedom of expression than it used to be the case 40 years ago in Eurasia? Not counting only the traditional Western partners like South Korea and Japan. No, there is a changed situation in South Korea as well. In Eastern traditional societies, yes, there is. Of course there is. And the first mistake of all of us that are geographically coming from the West is that we haven't noticed how those societies changed politically and in every other sense, and how much they progressed in political system and regime they presented. Actually, we have never wanted to accept their progress, because only one flag of democracy can fly on the Earth's hemisphere, and it is the Western one. Non-recognition of their progress in democracy would be the first mistake of our Western world. The second, even bigger mistake was the one that we lied to both ourselves and them, that we wanted them to accept the same model and supposedly the same values. And you know, all of us that are on EU path, we always hear two words. One is values and another two words, merit-based. Whenever you ask them, okay, what are the values at the beginning of accession process, the main word was market economy. It was everybody wanted to reach the level of a real market economy because we used to live in a self-managing socialism period of time, but different types of property, not a private ownership, was established as a dominant one. And we wanted to belong to that type of market economy, which was a prerequisite for the real democracy, for the new political system we wanted to build, but for the better and more efficient economy as well. At the end, what happened just a few years ago, and here in Switzerland, I got it as a final news. 2015, we started listening from many different circles in the West, okay, market economy is not anymore the basic value of our societies. We should now defend our markets with new tariffs, with protectionism, and that flag, market economy flag, was taken by Chinese. And I was coming to Davos for the last 11 years and was listening very carefully President Xi Jinping's words in 2016, if I'm not mistaken. And he exactly took a flag of market economy from the Americans and from all of us from Europe, saying, okay, we are embracing globalization and market economy. And everything went and turned upside down. All of a sudden, Chinese, because they had an eye of a tiger, in the recent decades. They wanted to change themselves, they changed themselves, they became very successful in their economic model. They accepted all the regulations, all the rules of the West, but when they started jeopardizing our economic successes, we said, no. It's all about protectionism because we have to remain dominant and we're going to change the rules. And now the only discussion that we have about economies, it's not how to boost our growth rates. Nobody discusses that. How are we going to secure better loans for our companies and at the same time not to put in jeopardy stability of our public finances? Why our public debt to GDP ratio is around 100%? It's going to be at the end of this year, speaking about Eurozone. In Serbia it's a bit better at least. When we speak about this issue, it's 46.4. But what we're going to do, because if next year it's going to be once again 0.7 growth rate of Europe, or 0.8 or 1.1, whatever we might say about China, India, many Arab countries, United States of America, they're going to have either twice, either 5 times or 6 times bigger growth. We cannot follow them anymore. But we have no ideas. The only idea we all have is what kind of tariffs we're going to put against the other guys. And now the main discussion is Trump going to put these tariffs on China, on Mexico, on Canada, on Europe, or against all of them, and how Europe will overcome all the difficulties with China because they cannot resist to both the United States and to China, and how Trump will accept the fact that United States, they have a deficit in their trade exchange with Europe of 132 billion, and he is, as a matter of fact, which is true, very much security protector of Europe, and what he's going to do. And now we have thousands of open questions, apart from all these wars that are taking place in our hemisphere. And it's very difficult to find solutions. And I'm here, it's easy, of course, to analyze it, having all these data, all these figures like I'm doing today. At the end, before I start saying a few words about Serbia, and don't worry, I'm not going to criticize anyone else in our neighborhood who would like to act differently comparing to the others from the Western Balkans. And I know that at least you in Switzerland are fed up with all of us, speaking our stories, revealing the truth from the past and everything else. I know it. And you know it even better than I do. What I wanted to say is that the real issue for us is what we can do in order not to worsen the situation in the world. We have now this big conflict, which seems to be a conflict between Russia and Ukraine, which is actually Russia versus West, which is, as a matter of fact, Russia plus its allies, including China, versus West. It's what I heard from Angela Merkel and Li Keqiang in Munich, 2017, if I'm not mistaken, security conference. Li Keqiang was referring to the audience and saying, Prime Minister of China of that time, and he said to everybody, and you saw that he was very sincere, very honest, he thought what he was saying. Well, you see, China was a leading country of the world since 300 years ago. And we Chinese, we missed that first industrial revolution. What we need now is just to get at place number 1 in the world where we used to belong. And nothing more than that. We are not going to do anything against anyone in the world. We don't want you to follow us, to succeed us on that road. What we need is just to occupy that place, which is a natural position of China. And then I did not expect, but Angela took floor and she said, of course in a decent and polite way, was saying, but why do you think that we would like to see you again and that pedestal as a number one country in the world? And then she got a big applause. And then she was saying, well, you cannot buy our company, is it Kuka, whatever, big robots for Volkswagen they were making and all the other automotive companies. You cannot buy it for peanuts, that and that. Well, they didn't buy it for peanuts for 5 billion, but they bought it for 10 billion just a few weeks after. And then what else we could have offered apart from protectionist measures? In the meantime, I believe that the situation in Ukraine is getting even more out of control. It's not even a big news today. Today the main news in the world is whether President Yoon made a terrible mistake or he did not, or what will happen in South Korea in 2 days, and that's it, because everybody is exhausted with Russian-Ukrainian clash. Nobody wants to hear anything, but everybody wants to win the war. And whoever I asked so far, people from the West, they were saying to me, Alexander, you need to understand that we must not lose this war. It's very clear. When I asked some of my Russian friends, they said to me, you, Alexander, no, we must not lose this war. Good. Both sides that are in clash, they must not lose the war, which means that that war will last for a very long period of time, and which means that no one is ready for the really compromising solution. And now there are thousands of stories what will happen. I'll do something what all the others do. You know, we in Serbia are accustomed and we are in the habit of knowing everything better than the others. Doesn't matter if we don't know anything, but we know everything better than the others. There are in Serbia 7 million presidents, 7 million football coaches. I don't believe that in Switzerland is the same, but that's how it goes in my country. And if you ask them what is going to happen, all of us, we have our own position on that. And me too. What I believe that might be very dangerous, there are two schools now. One that is winning within the NATO and United States of America is what they're going to do in the next 6 weeks. And what I believe they're going to do at the end of this week or by the end of next week, they're going to change their position not only on a tactical but a bit of a strategical level, which means that they will try to aim to target and to harm very much Russians regarding their ammo storages, but not only that, oil resources, gas storages and everything else. If that happens, they still believe that Putin will not strike back, that he might hit very hard Ukraine, but not any of NATO countries. That's how I see the situation, and that's what I forecast, that's what I foresee, which you'll be able to see, to notice, to check it within month and a half. But what I think is that Putin won't be very hesitant with stronger strike back. We'll see. But when it happens, then you'll really believe that it will be a better position for anyone to get the real truce or ceasefire in 40 days or 60 days? I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that. And my proposal in the recent meeting which we had in Budapest, that European political community, I was saying in the presence of President Zelensky, was the only one who was saying that, which is not strange, that I think that we should set a truce, cessation of fire, whatever. As earlier we stop it, well, at least you all will have to sit and to try to attempt to resolving this problem. And I saw that President Zelensky was not very happy with my openly imposed proposal. After 2.5 years, I spoke to President Putin by telephone, and I don't believe that we just in 3 sentences discussed Ukrainian issue. But I noticed that he was not cravingly trying to get at cessation of fire as well. Which means that we'll have further escalation. And at the same time, waiting for miraculous resolution of a problem that will come from the White House. Sorry that I'm saying, when once again acting like a prophet, which I'm not at all, that's not going to happen. That's just not going to happen. And I'm afraid of big disappointments that might come for all of us, which means that we'll have further deterioration of situation. In the meantime, I'm not sure that this peace established between Israel and Hezbollah and the others is long-lasting peace. I hope it will be the case, but I'm not certain about it. And at the end, I think that we in Europe, at least Americans, will try to do something. Russians will do their job, Ukrainians will do their job. But what Europe will do? If you ask me, I'm certain that Trump, after harsh comments against China, within 6 months will conclude a deal with China. At the end, the only real territory that he will go in political way against is going to be part of European Union or European Union itself. That's also my personal opinion, nothing more than that. But our problem in Europe today is, and that's why I'm profoundly grateful to Roger, because there are a few places where you can freely say what you think. I was astonished when I saw that Prime Minister Orban was visiting Putin. I was not able to do so, not because it would have been harmful to myself, but we would be under terrible pressure. We are not a member of EU, we are not a member of club, and I didn't want to expose my country to even bigger pressures. But when I saw all the others that were using Hippocratic language against Prime Minister Orban just because he spoke to someone, and I know, and I'm telling you this very openly, very publicly, that I know at least 2 European leaders that spoke secretly to Putin. They did not inform their public about it. I got it from Kremlin as an information, and confirmed information. But they were able to criticize Orban, and he did it very publicly, very openly. And what was the problem if you speak to someone? What is the problem if you listen to someone? Does it mean that you share all the views with someone? No, it does not. But we need to speak to each other. We need to understand each other. This is something that we lost in the meantime. I'm always, can I recall yourself, can I remind you of something that was happening even in this country 2.5 years ago? Because Serbia strongly condemned an incursion of Russian army into the Ukraine. In the United Nations, OSCE, and all the other institutions. But we did not impose any sanctions against Russia. Because we were the only country that didn't do it. Even in this country, in all liberal medias, it was published that Serbia was getting ready because Vucic is Putin's puppet. It's not easy to direct someone with 120 kilos, believe me. And they were saying they're going to start a new war in the Balkans. They're going to attack Bosnia, they're going to attack Kosovo, they're going to attack whomever you want. And I was saying, no, people, it's not true. But I couldn't reach anybody apart from Roger that wanted to listen, that wanted to hear. Now my question is for all those medias, because they were pretty much sure that it was going to happen. Okay, are you going to say at least one small sorry to Serbian people and to Serbian political leadership because of all these false stories? It didn't happen, it won't happen. And I'll tell you later on why this is totally excluded. On the other hand, I believe that Europe has to create its own politics in a very strategic way. And I believe that Europe is late on this. And I think that many people in Europe, they don't understand the war consequences. They still deal with the stuff in a way that we're going to survive this day, another day, and we'll see what the public audience will say about it, what they will comment, and how we can tackle it on a short term, and that's it. It's going to be worse than hell if this continues. On the other hand, apart from market economy, which was the biggest value of our societies, now another one became a political one, territorial integrity and UN Charter. And I'm not going to speak only about Serbia, I'll just mention it. But what about our sufficient excuse? Leibniz, very famous German philosopher, used to use it. Sufficient excuse, sufficient reason to attack Iraq because of false allegation that they were possessing nuclear weapons. Who cares about it today? What's going on in Iraq? Does anybody of us knows? What was the reason that the West entered Afghanistan after Soviets left? And how it ended? Who was defeated? What was the case in Libya? We were going against dictator? And what we brought to Libya today? And now I'm going to tell you something which you might be interested in. They launched an aggression against Serbia in 1999. Because of official excuse for that was humanitarian disaster that was ongoing in southern Serbian province. They didn't get Security Council approval. They didn't get any legal approval from the United Nations, even from General Assembly. They violated UN Charter, they violated Resolution 1244 after the war. But before the war they violated all the other regulations. Now when they start speaking about territorial integrity, we always ask them, what about our territorial integrity? Because this Resolution 1244 is still in effect. It hasn't been abolished or dismantled in the meantime. But it does not exist. Who cares? And when you come to our country speaking about territorial integrity, yes, we do support, we do endorse territorial integrity of Ukraine, and we're going to be more loyal to territorial integrity of Ukraine than the others, because we have a principled position. But nobody wanted to hear it. Nobody wanted to listen to that, because everybody was saying, well, that's a different story. And when I always asked him, okay, tell me something about the difference in these stories. No, it's a long story, Vucic, you should not be backward-leaning, past-oriented, you should be future-oriented and just discuss the future, forget what was happening in the past. And my comment has always been, are you going to say the same story to Ukrainians? And they were, ha ha ha, always. Now I see they're going to say the same story to Ukrainians. Just wait for the proper moment. Either it's going to be within 6 months or within a year. And then you'll see whether that devil's advocate from Serbia was right or not. And I'll tell you one more thing. When they start negotiating with Putin, and I have already gotten that confirmation, Putin will, rightly so, from his point of view, it's against Serbia's interests, but it's in his best interests, he'll start speaking about Kosovo precedent. Because he's going to sit with Americans around the table and all the others will be on the table. And then he's going to say, yeah, what you did with Kosovo, we did with Donetsk, Lugansk, Crimea, Kherson and Zaporizhia. Zaporizhia doesn't matter whether you take Russian or Ukrainian language. And then, what is going to be their answer? No real answers. Then they'll have to make another deal. But the only solution is, which I think this is the only thing that I'm offering today, is to set up the new rules and the new values that everybody will respect. Values cannot be changed in 2 days, or in 2 years, or in 10 years. Those values should remain constant. And at the same time, changing the rules, making it acceptable for everybody in the world, and not violating it in the future. And then, when you make this kind of foundation, then we can start resolving the problems from the past, knowing that nothing similar will happen in the future. This is the only solution. There are no other solutions. And when I was saying this to Scholz and Macron and to Ursula, they said to me, well, Putin will not say this. He'll not use that. After a month, got a call from Emmanuel, Alexander, how did you know it? Even Chancellor Scholz was saying this to me. Yeah, he mentioned it. Ursula was saying, yeah, he was speaking about it. Of course he was speaking about it. He's a smart politician. He uses what you give to him. And you gave him something. You gave him an ace which was hidden in his sleeve, and that's good for him. It doesn't mean that it's good for us. To the contrary. But it's good for him. What is going to be American response to that? I'm not sure. I hope that, on the other hand, we'll have less Hippocratic approach towards some other values. It's not a big secret that big Western powers were interfering into elections all over the world. And always saying, democracy is when we win, if we lose, then it's not that democratic as we thought, as we want it to be. When the others learned lesson, including Russians and the others, when they started interfering into their elections, that was like a complete havoc, something totally forbidden, and something very, very strange. And then, if that's the case, just act in the same way. And I put a lot of hopes into Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy's work, as well as to Kennedy's work, and I hope that they will change something on that as well, because we need real principles and less hypocrisy. In the end, just a few words about Serbia's position. And as I said at the beginning, I'm not going to criticize anyone else in our surrounding. As you know, we are on our EU path. And today I had an important meeting with your business community. And you know, I was bragging ourselves a lot, and one smart guy at the end said to me, You know, it looks like a paradise when you depict it. It's not. It's not at all. We face thousands of problems. We are still a poor country. Our GDP in absolute numbers, with 6.7 million people living there, is 82 billion. But just 10 years ago it was 32 billion, just to see what kind of a progress we made in the recent years. But it's still very small, as you know, and it shows how much we need to work in a more diligent way, which is going to be very difficult. People want, in all our countries, all over Europe, they want to live better every single year and to work less. And I take always my personal example. This year I was working a bit less than last year, but I'm getting a bigger salary. If I didn't get it, I would say something against the state. And I saw the Swiss people started laughing when I was saying that, but it's true. We are all spoiled and conceited. We all want just to get out of the blue something that we did not earn. If someone is preventing that, this is the culprit. And having in mind the level of digital laziness today, that we spend almost 3 hours doing nothing with our cell phones, just wasting time, I don't know what we're going to do. And I'm happy that we got Ursula Reynolds from Switzerland to introduce dual vocational system. But it's really tragic how difficult it is, because you need to impose it. People don't want to accept it. And not to mention the other very difficult stories. But yes, we made an economic progress. We were number 3 or number 4, speaking about level of development in the region of Western Balkans. Now we are by far number 1, ahead of everybody. The lowest public debt to GDP ratio, speaking about the countries that are members of Eurostat, and the country with the biggest average wages, and also the most developed. We mean Serbia means 50% of overall Western Balkans GDP, 55% of overall Western Balkans export, and 62% of overall Western Balkans FDI attraction. These are good things. Still, we'll have to do a lot regarding Rechtsstaat, rule of law, media freedom, many other stuff that is necessary to be delivered to our people. You know, you Swiss people, you had Landsgemeinde many centuries ago. And still, we are not that experienced, but we know that we should always respect the rule of audiatur et altera pars, and that's why I'm profoundly grateful to Roger. Just to conclude this, 2.5 years we were under big pressure to align ourselves with everybody. And I was always asking our friends in Europe, okay, if that is so, why do you need our government? Why do you need any governments? You can just text us a message or sending an email, and then that's a decision. Because I still believe in a sovereign, independent countries that can bring decisions by themselves for the sake and for the benefit for their own people. And I think this is an irrefutably best stance and best position of one country. I am very much afraid that we'll have more and more difficult situation in Europe. Just for you to know, we have 85,000 people that are working in German companies. When they sneeze, when they cough, we got immediately pneumonia. And with their growth rate, it's going to be worse for us within 2 and 3 years. This year we are number 2 country speaking about fastest growth rate in Europe. Next year we might be even number 1 country with a level of growth rate, but it doesn't mean that it will remain so in 2 or 3 or 4 years. And this is why we are very much afraid. And I just believe that Europe should make some more strategic decisions than it used to be the case. And I believe that they will be able to do so. And I'm very happy that you were very kind and very patient, and that you listened to me. And I know that, unlike Roger, I'm not charming person at all. And I cannot laugh anybody, but at least thank you for giving me a chance to say what I think. And I'm happy that President Dodik is here because, just for you to hear this word, if there are 6% of Albanians or 8% of Bosniaks in Montenegro, if they say we need to get Albanian or Bosnian language as an official language, legitimate demand, legitimate request, would have nothing against it. But if Serbs would say, and there are officially 32% of Serbs living in Montenegro, if they say we want to have, and Serbian language is spoken by 52% of people, we want to have Serbian language as an official language. Come on. Well, don't be backward leaning, you should change your focus. And I listen to them. I'm not that stupid not to understand this attitude, but I listen to them and I focus myself on economy, to tell you the truth. It's the same case with Bosnia, If whenever they say something against Republika Srpska, it's so easily accepted by everybody. When people from Republika Srpska say, well, this property issue, this assets issue is not resolved in a fair way, these guys are secessionists. Although all the others seceded from us. But doesn't matter. That happened in the past and we should be just future-oriented. And we are very much future-oriented because I'm very much focused on Expo. We are an organizers of Specialized Expo in 2027. We based everything on Expo and will fulfill all acquis, all criteria for the EU full-fledged membership status, and I don't believe that we are going to be a part of EU because they will not accept us till 2030 something. But it's our job to do it. It's our job to modernize our country. It's our job to democratize our country. But it's economy that is driving force for myself and for our country. And I hope that we'll get more Swiss people coming to Serbia and many of Serbians that are living here in Switzerland bringing either their knowledge, either themselves back to Serbia. We would be profoundly grateful to them. And at the end, economy always wins. And I believe that you Swiss people know it better than the others in the world. Dear Roger, thank you very much for listening to me. I was really honored and privileged to have an opportunity to refer to you. Thank you.
Wait till they put behind.
They're fast.
We have to clear the site here. Thank you very much that everybody can see us here on stage. Many thanks, Mr. President. I was sometimes looking at the candle, hoping there must be some hope, there must be some silver lining. We're living in dark times indeed. And let me ask you, this is my first question. I got a lot of questions from you. I will bring them in our conversation. But my first question is, we had the news today, if I'm correct, that the German helicopter was shot down in the Baltics by Russian arms.
It was an open fire.
An open fire?
I'm not saying that it's...
Okay,
that's what I saw.
Check it for yourself. My first question
Susanna,
is...
that was the case. Right.
Okay, not confirmed. Let's assume it's a very difficult situation. It's still in escalation mood in Ukraine, probably the Baltic. How dangerous is the situation at the moment with this war? How close are we to a really big-time catastrophe?
Well, it's always easy to say, okay, it'll be better. Just wait for the sun in the morning. But I don't see it. I think that we are very far away from the resolution of a problem. And when you have both sides that must win and that must not lose, tell me what would be the possible resolution. And when you were in Russia now, you can tell me, but I believe that you heard from many people that they were very much determined to carry on till the end of, as they call it, special military operation or whatever. And it's the same what I heard yesterday in Brussels. We need to win, we need to win. And I asked them in Budapest, I asked them all, okay, tell me just how you're going to win and when you're going to win. And then they were just staring at me like staring at a scarecrow in the field, and that's it.
As you mentioned, that was my impression when I was in Russia. The Russian people, the leadership there, President Putin and Lavrov, were saying, well, this is a war of defense. We have to defend ourselves against expanding NATO. And if you talk to the people from the NATO side, they say, well, we have to defend ourselves from the advancing Russians. And everybody is convinced they are right. The question is, what can a politician such as you do to bring about peace? What is your plan to help to avoid the worst case? I'm sorry, just to open up this, it's not good to dehydrate even in terrible times. I'm sorry.
It's people on all sides, they just try to create their own narrative. Most of the medias in today's world are much bigger parties under control of the West and dominated by the West and owned by the West. But as a matter of fact, I don't think that Russians care too much about it. On the other hand, it's a game of power. It's about future. And the West wants to remain overwhelmingly as a dominant power, and that's why they must not lose. And Russia must not lose, and they must win in order to expand their global power. And if you put China into that context, then you see a big economic race, big political race, and it's better to understand as early as it is possible that there is not going to be that type of dominance that was existing in the last 300 years. Okay, you can still remain living in a better place. You can still have much better living standard than people in Russia. But political dominance cannot be existing in a way than it used to be in the last 300 years. And that's it, and someone has to understand that. I don't speak about reconciliation or whatever, but speaking about interests of everybody. And cessation of fire, peace, is an interest of all sides.
But the good news is, and the difference probably to earlier times, that today, this is my personal perception, that the people, be it in China, in Russia, Ukraine, Europe, United States, these people, I don't speak about politicians, the people, they do not want to have a big war. It's not like in 1914, where probably there was a different situation.
Yep.
The people see what we are entering here is totally detrimental to our lives. It's a catastrophe for us. So my question is, do we have crazy leaders? Are our leaders insane? Do we have to get rid of them? Because the people do not want to have this terrible escalation. And therefore it will not happen at the end.
I can tell you that people don't realize that we are not far away from the worst scenario. Because like before the fall of Western Roman Empire, people lived nicely. At that time, beginning of 5th century AD, people were indulging their lives, indulging in their public baths, theaters, not even noticing what the other tribes and barbarians were doing on the borders, because they were secured and thinking, okay, we lasted for so many centuries, no one can put in jeopardy our position and everything that we created so far. And this is like situation in today's Europe. Everybody is speaking about it, but actually nobody believes that it might happen. A few days ago, I asked my people, okay, where are we going to hide ourselves if there's going to be an outburst of nuclear war? Then they said to me, well, we have, Mr. President, only gyms, fitness rooms, yoga premises, some other venues, but you can hide yourself nowhere. I said, okay, what we can do? They said to me, almost nothing. Because if you try to do something, you'll have big demonstrations against yourself, because there are thousands of tenants in all the cities of Serbia and nobody wants to leave it because nobody believes in a war. And you're always like drama queen threatening with something that is not going to happen. I'm going to tell you the story now, which is not, I hope it's not frightening to you. I've visited President Putin on 25th of November, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, they confirm it. 25th of November, which means 3 months before the war. And we had a good meeting. Not all our meetings were that good. We had a really good meeting. We made a deal on gas issue at that time, and I was his guest in his Sochi's resort. And he was in a good mood. 3 hours we spent together, all alone. I left his place and I said to my aides, okay, we're going to face the war between Russia and Ukraine. And all the ladies that are in my team were, ha ha ha, you are a well-known drama queen, hey hey, we know you, that will never happen. So to them, even publicly I was saying that I was very much afraid, like I was saying tonight. Then we had a grand opening of Olympic Games in China, and Putin was there. We couldn't reach him. I was sitting together with President Duda and with Prince Albert at the same stand. 50 meters away from us was Putin. We were separated, and then 50 meters away was Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, my friend, and then President Xi. And I wanted to approach them, but security didn't allow us to go there. And I asked President Duda said to me, no, that is not going to happen. Okay. Prince Albert said, he is so decent, so well educated, 10 times smarter and better educated than myself. He couldn't believe it. And I said to him, I believe so. And then we asked all the others, because somehow we breached that protocol. And I reached United Arab Emirates President, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed, and he said to me, Alexander, you are right, that will happen, I suppose, June the 1st. And I said to him, March the 1st. He said to me, no way, that early. I said to him, March the 1st. And it happened on 22nd of February, before I forecasted. I'm telling you this because you have to analyze the real facts, not to get to the matter in an emotional way, what you would like to see. When you ask people in Serbia, if Russia will, 60% of those are on Russian side, okay, 30% on the other side, 10% somewhere in between. And when you ask pro-Russian people, when you ask my brother, he'll always say, at the beginning, we're gonna enter Kiev in 3 days. After that, after Ukrainian did that counteroffensive, if you asked some other members of family, hey, Russians will leave Crimea easily and everything else. It's always exaggeration that is related to our emotions. But if you put things like this into the paper, on a paper and then analyze it, then you're going to see that it's not going to be easy reaching any kind of cessation of fire and truce.
But where do you think could a solution lie? I mean, there were some certain hope.
I was listening to some smart people today in Dolder here.
Yes.
They were saying, well, Ukrainians will listen to Stoltenberg's words. That was a balloon sent to Ukrainians. Okay, temporarily you should say that this territory is not under our control, but we'll wait, and in the future that will be changed, and Russians will accept that. And then you can become a member of NATO, and then we'll send European soldiers on Ukrainian soil. Then Ukrainian soil will be saved. If you really believe that Russians will accept that deal, although it is very difficult for Ukrainians, but if anyone believes that Russia will accept it, this is delusional. Mm-hmm. Sorry that I'm saying this, sorry that I'm a party breaker. If you really believe that Putin will accept it, after losing 500,000 people, come on.
What do you think he will accept? What is his ultimate goal?
I'm not speaking about it because I don't know that, but I know what you might play with, but this is not enough, which means that we'll see an escalation. Yeah. This is my assessment. Yeah. We'll see whether I'm right. I hope that I'm wrong, and I come here and I say, you saw people, I was very wrong, and still profoundly grateful that you listened to me.
Let's bring in a question from the audience, which is a quite interesting question. One guest wrote us, US President-elect Donald Trump only narrowly escaped an assassination attempt. Where would the world be if Trump had not survived the assassination attempt? If Trump were dead, where would we be now?
Difficult question, but I need to tell you one thing. It showed something else, and no one wanted to analyze this. If you watch CNN, and I watched it even today in this hotel, and all these mainstream medias, always democratic leaning, they don't even analyze the reason of their defeat. They believe it's a personal issue. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you that I believe that if Biden was the candidate, he was having bigger chances than Kamala Harris. That was my opinion. Now we cannot check it, but that's something that I thought. But on the other hand, they did not realize that people were fed up with those woke movements and everything else. You cannot go to extreme against people's will. People can accept new rules, people can accept new regulations, but you cannot go always against the nature of the people. And that's it. And I'm saying this in a very simple way. I was the guy that was, and I have no problems with that, and I had no problems, although everybody was not only criticizing me, they were loathing with my decision to appoint a lesbian lady as a prime minister. But I'm proud of her work, and I'm proud of her contribution to our country. And now many people love her 10 times more than myself, and I'm very happy because of that. But okay, that's good. We are people. All of us are equal. But okay, just don't go to extreme, you know. Don't change everything in a way that people cannot swallow it. Seeing a boxing master, female boxing master that is not even a female, you know, and then expecting from people to clap their hands and to chant songs, you know, it doesn't go like that. And people wanted to see people that would like, politicians that would like to hear an ordinary people. That's why Trump won. Not only because of him, he's a talented person, but not only because of him, but because they wanted to see someone who would have listened to them.
Do you think he can find a compromise with Putin? He has already boasted. He said, even before he enters the White House, he will have solved the Ukraine war. Will Trump the miracle man out of Disneyland or of the White House?
I don't believe in miracles, but Trump is, in a positive sense of that word, business-oriented bulldozer. I believe this is something good when you say it about someone. Because I think that he'll start in a very harsh way. He'll try to get some leverages on Putin. He'll try to frighten him or something, to do that and that. But at the end, his approach will be to get closer to a resolution of a problem. But it's not going to be easy, and it's not going to happen soon.
Is Trump a man of the compromise, or is Trump a man of further confrontation between the West, the collective West, and the collective East? China, Russia, what do you think?
I believe that he is a man of a compromise. I entered the Oval Office when I met him, and he started, yelling from the very beginning, "Hey, how are you? Handsome guy." I'm not handsome, I'm a fat guy. "Okay, you have the same type of a problem with Chinese." I don't have any problems with Chinese. "How did it happen?" I don't know. But he was smart enough. He was smart enough to get all the infos immediately and to adjust his behavior in a very good way. And on the other hand, I believe that he wants to be remembered, that he wants to have a sort of a legacy for himself as a peacemaker. I really believe in that. I told you, I want to be my legacy as a president of Serbia, which won twice in the first round, which has never happened before. In my country, I want to be economic results, economic, dare to say, not only accomplishments, but achievements. And this is my legacy fight. And I think that his legacy fight is going to be America, which is going to be appreciated and respected not only by liberal elites, but by people all over the world, which means that he needs to bring peace. And I think these are his thoughts as well.
Let's talk about Europe and the European Union. The newspapers are full with not so very good news. You mentioned it. I mean, the German economy seems to have some serious problems. 84,000 people in Serbia are employed by German companies. They are laying off people.
Not in Serbia.
Not in Serbia.
Not in Serbia. It's announced in Germany, not in Serbia.
They're laying off. There is a great.
But if it happens in Germany one day, this will happen.
It will touch you as well. So there is a great concern, and I've heard from a lot of people. They're saying Europe is. I mean, the biggest loser of the war in Ukraine is Ukraine, and then the second loser coming in quite close is Europe. Is Europe?
I would say it's Ukraine, then Russia, then Europe.
And how difficult is the situation of Europe? What has to change in Europe that this continent just gets back on its feet? I mean, I probably put it a bit drastic.
I very much believe in Germany. They recovered when they were seen by all the others as a sick man. You remember Gerhard Schröder's time?
Sure.
And they became an engine of Europe's progress. It will happen again. What I believe that they should do, all the others in Europe, become less football fan on a political scene and act in a more rational way. That's all I think. You know, when you go to all these big summits, you know how they do it, these big liberal elites, how they organize it. You have a host has an introduction. After that, one big leader that will set a pace, which means Ukraine must win. And then two hawks, which are not going only to confirm the words of two first speakers, but to get furthermore. It's not only that we'll have to win, but we'll have to destroy Russia, and on the other hand, we'll have to use their rare metals, minerals, raw materials, commodities, and everything else. And then everybody applauds, and then if you have any kind of questions, you are seen as an adversary, and you are not allowed to do so. Mm-hmm. If that is going to be continued, I don't know what we're going to do in Europe.
I was gathering some headlines from...
I'm not afraid, you know. I'm considered partly and a bit as a crazy guy from the Balkans, you know. I don't believe that I'm crazy, but it's the easiest way to label someone with that and not even discussing his arguments.
Mm-hmm. I gathered some headlines from other newspapers about you and Serbia, and I have to say it's amazing negative headlines. For example, here I say, Vucic has the media landscape of Serbia in a tight grip. Independent voices are systematically oppressed. This is, for example, a famous Zurich newspaper. We don't need to call names now, but everybody knows it. Are you systematically oppressing the? I mean, would the Weltwoche be forbidden in Serbia because we always go against the government?
You come to Serbia by the end of the year, and then please inform your audience about it. Check it by yourself. Because whatever I might say, it would be stupid. Defending myself, it would be even more stupid. Mm-hmm. I don't say that everything is ideal, but if I hear every single day that I'm a new Hitler and it's all published and broadcasted in Serbia, then it doesn't say so.
I mean, there is another one. How do you cope with that? For example, another newspaper of Zurich, not mine, says, President Vucic, he shows the element of the autocrat. Democratic institutions are systematically weakened. I mean, you can say this is just newspaper rubbish, but as a head of state, you have to find a strategy. What are you answering? What are you telling these people with these headlines?
Nothing. Doing my job, developing my country, because those people will always say the same. Doesn't matter whether it's true or not. Yeah. And if you show that you're, I thought once that even Putin was not easily accepting these kind of articles. 10 years ago. I'm in the habit of getting it. What I'm at the end analyzing, its numbers, its results, emotions I need for my kids, for my family. This what they're gonna say. And who is doing a great job according to those people, tell me. And then compare their numbers with our numbers. And then you're gonna see who is saying the truth. And when we speak about it, I made a joke with my very good friend Ilham Aliyev. You know, when the war started, everybody wanted to commence taking Azerbaijani's gas. And you know, before that, Ilham Aliyev, as my friend, he had only myself to hug him, embrace him on each of these gatherings, rallies. And all of a sudden, everybody started hugging him, you know. I was standing in a long queue just to shake hands with him. And I approached him and I said to him, please tell me the recipe, how you successfully did this. And he said to me, laughing, you know, because he knows me very well, said, you were the worst dictator, worse than myself. Now you all of a sudden became like the best force of democracy for everybody in Europe. And he was so fair, need to tell you, that he started laughing in the presence of everybody and just saying, join the club, find some gas sources, and in the meantime we found lithium. Now we are a bit less dictatorship. I'm just an autocrat now. In the meantime, we are going to become a democratic state as well, don't worry.
But I saw in Germany, I mean, we have to see it, look at it, if you are for direct democracy in Germany, even the protection of the constitution can have a look at you because you are a bit critical about representative democracy. So the Swiss are also always in the twilight. A personal question, why did you become politician?
Accidentally. Yeah, it really happened.
Do you regret it?
No. From time to time, I have terribly difficult days. My family suffered a lot because it's not easy doing this job in the Balkans. But, at the end, I believe that in 10 years, people will speak about highways, railroads, biotech institutes, science, technological parks, plants, factories that we built, reindustrialized the country, AI achievements for such a small and not well-developed country, that people will remember that. They need 1 year to criticize everything that you left. After that, they will start once again glorifying me for everything that we did. And I'm interested only in things that people will speak about myself in 20 years. That's all. And I'm happy because, our overall GDP till 2013 was 32 billion euros. Now it's just 10 years after 82 billion euros. You can say whatever you want. Dictator, autocrat, crazy, stupid, arrogant, bastard, whatever. But what we built, what we did in 10 years is much more than we did in last 100 years. These are the facts, whether you like it, whether you don't like it. And this is unbeatable.
Before I ask my next question, I saw that your microphone slipped from your right ear. Here, excuse me, I will help you as we put it up here again. Sorry.
Yeah, you tied me
Very sorry
up.
to. This is like a harder. This is a transgression of the line of intimacy. Of the line of intimacy. What would you say is your most important conviction in politics? The most important conviction you have?
It's not a conviction; it's an approach. Hard and diligent work. That's what I believe in. If you are not ready to work in a very hard and diligent way, let me make one joke about myself. One of my political opponents, he used to be the prime minister after Gingi's assassination. Živković used to say, what's the problem with Vucic? He is stupid. But that's not the biggest problem. The biggest problem is when you have a stupid guy which is persistently diligent and dedicated. This is the worst type of a people. And he was maybe right.
The lazy idiot is not dangerous, but you have a very hardworking man from this perspective. The question here interesting also from our readers, that would Swiss neutrality, we have to work on it again. Swiss neutrality is a bit in difficulty, but not so much. I had to explain to the Russians too. They were a bit too negative. I had to defend our friends in Bern. But is the neutrality concept something that is for Serbia interesting as a small country?
Number one, we are on our EU path. We would like to join EU. Number two, I'm not sure they want us to see as a full-fledged member state. It's up to them. But number two, we are militarily neutral, and it will remain so. It requires bigger investments. I see that you are raising your military budget here in Switzerland, was following that very closely, and it's a much bigger amount of money than We invest, but still, proportion-wise speaking, and speaking about the level of our economies, we are investing much more than you do. We are surrounded by NATO countries, and we are a neutral country. We have to invest into that in order to deter all possible aggressors, and that's it. We have no intentions to attack anyone, and that won't happen. We put all our forces, all our strength into developing economy and creating better living standard for our people.
We had a Weltwoche summit meeting in Vienna with former Chancellor Schröder and with Prime Minister Orban.
He's a very courageous man, both of them, but
it was very interesting because they had some differences, but they had a lot of in common.
Political
also.
chase they organized against Gerhard Schröder was...
It's amazing. And Viktor Orban said at the end of the discussion, he said he sees a leadership crisis in Europe, but there is a rather quick change of the leadership. And you see it in many countries. We see it in France. The government is hanging in the ropes. We see in Italy a new leadership. We see in Germany there is a lot of, there's not a strong government at the moment. What do you think? How would the political landscape in Europe look like, let's say, in 2 years? Will there be a huge change? Will there be a totally different approach towards politics? And is that the good news if the so-called populists or the right-wing parties are taking over? How do you see that?
What does it mean, populist?
I just quote,
is it you quote liberal medias?
Yeah.
If you ask them what does it mean, they would say, populist, those are the people that are flattering the folks. Is it true or not? I don't know, because the others are doing so on a daily basis. But listening to the people, if those people listen to the people's needs, that's something good, I believe. Not bad at all. But you are a populist if you are able to reach big percentage of popularity. Whenever they want to depict myself, they always say, a populist leader from the Balkans. And I always ask myself, what does it mean?
A popular leader?
I don't know. It's maybe there is something wrong, but I didn't see it. I didn't recognize that. And I don't understand the intention of that, to tell you the truth. But I believe that all of us will have to change ourselves. We'll have to listen more to the people, because social networks, well, from time to time misdirect us. But anyway, we need to show respect to an ordinary people, because they want to be heard more than ever.
Is democracy in danger? If you look at Austria, if you look at France, where you have election results, but still the same governments are trying to hang on. I mean, I'm looking a bit with a smiling face, but you can see that in a very critical way. Is democracy in danger in the West?
I'll tell you something. Would not respond in a direct way to this question, but will say something else. If you think that Jordan Bardella, Marine Le Pen, or the other people from the other parts of Europe are going to get less next time, no, it's not going to be the case. Are they going to have majority or not? I still don't know. But one day they'll get it. One day they'll get it. The problem with all of us is that we don't understand what we actually neglected and why people picked someone else. Why they took side dish as a main course instead of us. It means that we made something very wrong. But because I see that nobody wants to analyze that, they just try to frighten the people and the nations with those guys. Yeah, but it doesn't work anymore, and it won't work. That was very wrong with the American campaign against Trump. That's why Trump won. People are, J-Lo, Bruce Springsteen, Robert De Niro,
Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift.
The most overrated influencer in the Western world.
We're gonna vote against Donald Trump. And then can you imagine an ordinary guy in Pennsylvania, Arizona, Alabama saying, hey, come on. There are many ladies here, I'm not gonna say what they really said. Who are you to order me how I'm gonna vote? Mm-hmm. You got everything from us. You got everything from the system. You're rich. You're too rich. And you did not deserve that. And now you are lecturing us how we should vote. And I have that only one vote, once in 4 years, to dedicate to my family, to myself, not to you. And it's not about you, because you live nicely. It's about us. We want some changes. Who cares what J-Law thinks about it? You know, there are pop stars in my region. Hey, Vucic is a dictator. Good that you said that. And you really believe that people will listen to a pop star that knows nothing about it, but knows how to sing, or I don't know what else, to dance?
Arrogance.
Yeah.
I got several questions from our audience.
But can you imagine a person that was persuaded by J-Law to vote for Kamala Harris? I cannot.
Well, I saw Americans who saw the TV debate between Kamala Harris and Trump, and they were thought, after this TV debate, it's sure that Kamala Harris will win.
But they were lying.
You never know.
They were lying. Polls were not showing that. Real polls were not showing that. And Vance was killing his counter-candidate politically. And they were just silent about it. There were no polls shown. Please, check it. It was like, just forget it, that it happened.
Yeah.
Vice President's TV debate. It was like, just forget it, it didn't happen. But it happened.
Yeah.
And people watched that. But
we have a lot of readers at the Weltwoche that are from Kosovo. There are a lot of Kosovars also in Switzerland.
I believe there are many of them in front of this building.
No, I don't think so.
They told me so.
Well, don't
hey, but I didn't want to mention them. If you ask me a question, then I'll have to refer to that.
Because I got this question. It was the
okay,
the
give
question
it.
was the question is you have been accused of stirring things up in the conflict with Kosovo for a long time in order to then act as a peace mediator. What do you say to this accusation?
That I'm doing what?
You are stirring up the conflict in Kosovo, then to act as a mediator. What do you say against this
mediator?
Yeah, no. You stir it up, and then you want to.
First
be the mediator.
of all, I have never been, and I have never wanted to be a mediator.
Yeah.
When people ask me whether you wanted to host Russians and Ukrainians in Belgrade, they have Turkey, they have the other countries, Switzerland, Austria. Not interested in that. No. I'm interested in getting good relationship with them. Speaking about being mediator or stirring up something, we were really patient. We were really silent. I'll do my best to escape this topic, but you need to know that just this year there were 113 ethnically motivated attacks against Serbs in Kosovo. But this is our issue and we need to resolve it either in Brussels, either somewhere else, and I'll be always very much compromise-oriented. And my best regards to those guys in front of this, and in front of that there is another place where we go.
Yes.
They're going to gather there tonight.
Yes.
We can go out, give them some tea or coffee or whatever.
Yes, we will do that with our security
no
guys. But, everything so far peaceful.
You know, if I'm not attacked by someone, if there are no demonstrations, if it would be a sort of real offense, a real insult, it means that you're nobody. If there are so many people protesting against you, it means that you are someone.
My final point here,
That's what dictators say always.
That's what they always say, of course. My final 2 points are related a bit to the time we are in. I was speaking about Advent time. We have this candle here. And in our new edition of Die Weltwoche, there is an article, Save the Candle of Advent. This candle is in danger, meaning Christianity is in danger. Europe is losing Christianity, is becoming more and more secular. You know, the people forget about, leaving the churches. Religion is totally out of the question. Serbia is a country where religion still, I believe, has quite an important role. What do you think? What is Europe losing? What are we losing when religion is thrown out of the window, when nobody believes in God anymore?
I cannot make comments on behalf of your country, on behalf of your people, but I can tell you, whenever we face difficult situation, we go back to our churches, and religion is very much present today, not to the extent that it would be in a way exaggerated, but whenever we face difficult situations, we always go back to God and to our church, and this is the case not only in Serbia but in surrounding countries as well.
And what are you going to do on Christmas? This is my final question. What do you do on Christmas?
I don't know.
How do you celebrate Christmas?
Can I tell you? I heard we are the only nation that has this St. Patron's Day, that we celebrate St. Patron's Day in Orthodox Christianity. And my Slava, my Patron's Day, it's St. Nicholas Day, 19th of December. And I hope that I'll come in the evening at least to spend it with my family, but even on that day I'll have to be in Brussels.
My condolations.
It's an important meeting. But you're invited in these days to, I think that the North Macedonian president will visit my home at that day, and you're very welcome if you find some time. But Christmas is far away from today. It's 7th of January. In our calendar, year is 25th, and well, I hope that we'll have some time to spend it with
And
family.
where is your personal light of hope? Where do you see the silver lining at the end of the horizon?
Can I tell you, the easiest way for me is to think that I was wrong. And seeing that I was wrong...
You're praying you're wrong.
Yes, seeing that I was wrong, it means there will be something good for the world. And that's it. And I hope that I was wrong.
Okay.
I hope that I was wrong, and once again, thank you for having me here. Thank you for hosting me in such a terrific way, and hope to host you as soon as possible in Belgrade.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. And thank you. And before we close this session, I will ask my friend Michailo, where are you? Please bring the presents. Of course, we have presented something for the president. We have a very sophisticated. Thank you very much. We have a very sophisticated set of presents here. The first present to you is this pocket watch. It's a pocket watch with the emblem of William Tell, our national hero, and of course it's a double whammy, a Swiss whammy, you could say. It's a watch, and it's William Tell, our national freedom fighter. You remind me sometimes of a Serbian William Tell, but I have to say, your weapon is not the crossbow, but your gentle language, the words, and I have to honestly say, I prefer words as a weapon to the crossbow. So this is our first present.
Thank you very much.
Then the second present. The second present is very important, since you are already, I think, also 50 years old. You are 50 years old?
I am 54.
Okay, so after 50, you have to do something for your intellect, for your brain. So this is why we give you these nuts. These are nuts from Switzerland. They have been prepared by Luzerner Landfrauen, from landladies from Lucerne. And I can tell you they are excellent and they're very good for your brain.
Thank you.
And
it can help me at least.
And our third present, that's probably the most important present of them all. It's also a Swiss quality product from Ricola with Love, not from Russia with Love, that's a James Bond movie, from Ricola with Love. And these are sweets you have to suck in order to keep a strong voice, and your voice has to be heard for a long time. Mr. President, thank you very much.
Can I say just one word?
Yes, of course.
I need to tell you one story. We used to have not more than 30 seconds. 1938, 1939. Our Prime Minister, Serbian Prime Minister Stojadinovic, was invited by Ribbentrop. It was in Munich or Stuttgart, a big car fair. And you know, new cars, new Mercedes. And Ribbentrop was showing that to Stojadinovic, saying, Mr. Prime Minister, you're a friend of Germany. This is our very nice gift for you, for your government. And then Stojadinovic said, well, you know, we have a difficult law. I can't accept this car because we are not entitled to get this kind of very expensive gifts. And then Ribbentrop was saying, okay, that will cost you then 1 Reichsmark. And then Stojadinovic was saying, then I'll take 2. It's like myself today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I hope I'm not reminding you of this infamous German foreign minister. I want just to say before I close this session, we have now the possibility to have a drink, which is also very important.
I just wanted to compare myself with the good Serbian Prime Minister.
Thank you. No, of course. I was just, I was getting the point. I was just wanted to say that the people with the white ribbon here, please go to the garden salon, and those with the blue ribbon, please go here to the gallery for the aperitif. And we have also a little Christmas present for everybody who is interested. We don't give it to as a present, but you can order it for Weltwoche. It's a brand new book by Christoph Mörgeli, Schweizer Klassiker. It's a book about Swiss literature, and it's a very nice gift. But we don't give it to you here, but you can order it from Weltwoche. It's very new. And thanks again, Mr. President, for coming. It was a great privilege, a great honor to have you here. Thank you very much.